I had a therapy session today, and my therapist suggested that maybe we should go back to weekly sessions, okay? And not every 15 days anymore. So that's my update for today because I got out of therapy and then I thought, why not talk about it on the podcast, right? Since I love bringing personal topics so much here. So, yeah. But actually, today's topic might be useful for you, stressed and anxious person. Probably because some things have been happening to me, and now I've decided that it's time for changes again for the millionth time. So, yeah, welcome to this episode desse podcast que é para você, é feito para você manter sempre o seu contato com o inglês, porque uma fluência sem constância e sem convivência com o idioma, ela não existe, não é mesmo? Então é só assim que a gente constrói a fluência de verdade, e é por isso que a Wave te dá várias plataformas, várias ferramentas para você manter sua fluência em dia, tá? Seja com podcast, seja com newsletter, seja com cronogramas de estudos que a gente monta para você, ou o curso, se você acha que é o momento para fazer isso. Mas enfim, a gente tem coisas gratuitas, tem coisas pagas, coisas que a gente vai segurar na sua mão e coisas que você vai usar para estudar sozinho. Então, é isso. Tudo para alimentar a sua fluência diariamente e para entender mais tudo que a gente pode fazer por você lá no nosso Instagram, @wayfluency. Você descobre tudo isso e, bom, se você quiser, né, um conteúdo rápido e fácil para treinar a rotina, já segue o podcast. Já confere aí se as notificações do pod estão ativadas para você, porque toda quarta de manhã e toda sexta de manhã a gente tem newsletter, tá? Mas toda quarta de manhã a gente tem aqui o pod. Então, para você estar sempre lembrando, você tem que ativar a notificação dos dois. Então, vai lá. Você já tá aqui no pod, então já ativa o sininho. E depois vai lá no link da nossa bio, ativar também as notificações. Seguir a gente, se inscrever na nossa newsletter, que você pode receber diretamente no seu e-mail. E ler aí no meio da sua rotina. Bom, enfim, é isso. Let's start the episode. So, I've mentioned 1,000 times on this podcast that I've had a burnout, right? Actually, there's an episode where I tell you about my burnout and everything that happened during and after, and that's it. Like something that I always do here is talk about routine, habits, right? I love talking about this, and I am a very disciplined and organized person, and maybe that's my problem because I always bring myself to my limit and I always cross that limit and I don't even notice. So usually I need someone to stop me, but this doesn't always happen. Usually this happens very silently. So that's why I will probably never stop going to therapy because it's my way of keeping myself in check, you know? So today I had this conversation with my psychologist that I've noticed that I was almost crossing my limits again. And this time it was very silent. It was so natural that I didn't even realize it until it was a little bit too late. I didn't have another burnout. I don't think I'm close to it. But once again, I forgot to take care of myself. And I know that this might be a common feeling. Let me know if this is a feeling for you too, that if you don't pay attention, you will cross your limits. You don't get any rest. You don't do anything for yourself, right? I always tell my students that studying English, at least studying English at Wave, could be a break from your routine because sometimes the English classes are the only thing you do for yourself and not for other people, you know? And even when you have a company like me, I still feel like my whole time goes to my company, right? And very often I forget to dedicate a part of my day and a part of my week for myself and do something for myself. And I always say that, oh, I don't have time to take some different classes. Oh, I don't have time to take some dance classes, for example. Oh, I don't have time to take a walk on the street. And then I just I'm the one who organizes my routine, and then I always find a way not to leave any spaces for myself, you know? And I was noticing that since the year has started that I wasn't saving any time for myself. But I just let it happen until I reached my breaking point It wasn't a breaking point exactly because I didn't have another burnout, but it was, I think it was close, a little bit close. So here on this episode, I'm gonna tell you some symptoms, maybe some indicators that I wasn't taking care of myself and that I was getting close to a stress breaking point. And uh, everything that I'm gonna do from now on to keep myself in check. Like things that I'm gonna force myself to do to pay attention to myself, take care of myself, because I was telling my therapist this, like usually you have people who are procrastinators, right? So usually you feel that way. You need some motivation to work, you need some motivation to study, right? Because your status quo, your normal state is procrastinating. You need motivation to do something. For me, it's the opposite. My normal state, my status quo is working my ass off, like working my body to exhaustion. That's my normal state. I don't pay attention when I'm getting close to a limit, you know? For me, I don't have to force myself to focus and study and work and be motivated. No, I have to force myself to relax and stop and pause and procrastinate a little bit, you know? In my case, procrastinating would be a healthy habit, just so you can have an idea of how my mind works. And yeah, so I actually have to keep myself in check and write down and take notes of these symptoms, you know, when I'm getting close to my limit. And I have to force myself, I have to include in my routine breaks and moments where I will just stop doing everything I'm doing and just pay attention to myself. So this is what I'm doing right now. First, I'm gonna tell you some things that I've noticed that every time I'm doing these things, it's because I'm getting close to a limit. And last year, 2025 was a year that I thought, wow, I am finally healed. You know, like curada. Mas curada no sentido de você tinha um machucado e você curou. Não curada de uma doença, tá? Last year, I thought, oh, I'm healed from my burnout. Finally. I got out of my burnout state because it takes a while, okay? And last year, it was a year that I took care of myself. I was taking a lot of walks. I always made a little joke on my stories that I was walking my demons away. Like, caminhando para espantar os demônios. I was saying that many times last year because I was actually doing it. I was relaxing. I was paying attention to my routine. And I thought, great. Now I'm finally healed. I'm 100% better from my burnout. Now my life will be better forever. And then 2026 started, and I forgot absolutely everything that I did during 2025. And now maybe I have to relearn those things again. And maybe that's why my therapist said that we need to go back to weekly sessions because apparently I forgot everything I learned last year. So, things that I do when I am forcing myself and crossing my limits, right? First thing is working the 3 shifts of the day. So I don't work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, because I don't work for anyone, right? I have my company. And the big problem with having your company and organizing your hours, it's because you need to know when to stop. So I don't. And if I don't stop and realize, I will be working the 3 shifts, the full morning, a full afternoon, and a full evening. So my day will start at 5 a.m. because I exercise, and then I immediately start working, and then I finish my day at 10 p.m. And you will probably say like, Nicole, this is the normal CLT life, right? People who work all day and go to college in the evening. I know. And maybe you should pay attention to that too. Like, it's not normal. Like, it's common, but it's not normal. Okay. And because I've already been through a burnout, my body's limits, my body's resistance is so much lower. So if you're doing that and you're thinking like, that's normal, it's because you haven't gone through a burnout yet. after you do, your body loses its resistance, the resistance that I used to have, and that I would work the 3 shifts. I would study the 3 shifts. Yes, I used to study and work like crazy my whole college course, and I miss those days because I actually had the energy and the brain power that I needed to do that. Today, after the burnout, my brain is fried. I can't do that anymore. My resistance is so much lower, and now I just can't bring myself to that level of exhaustion anymore because I have to be careful. I have a diagnosis now because of my burnout, by the way. Okay? Okay. But yeah, this is something that I need to pay attention. If I am working the 3 shifts, something is wrong. I need to stop and reorganize my schedule. So this is my first warning, like alerta, that something needs to change. If I pay attention and I notice that I'm working the 3 shifts, something's wrong, right? So maybe I haven't thought about it yet, but maybe I need to separate like 4 hours of my day that I will be relaxing, reading, watching TV. I don't know, like a person that works outside from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and in the evening they can do whatever they want. This needs to be my life. I just need to choose the 4 hours that I will have free, not working. It's up to me. It's my decision. And the problem is I can't make that decision. But okay. Another huge sign for me is when I'm not walking or going outside. Because one of the things that healed me, that cured me, no, healed me from my burnout was walking. Taking walks outside on the street literally healed me. It was part of my healing process from the burnout. And the more I read about it, the more I hear about it, I understand that going outside, being under the sunlight and seeing the sky and literally touching grass. There's a joke on the internet about touching grass, but it's true. You need to touch grass and you need to look at the sky and be under the sunlight. If I'm not doing those things, it's a warning for me. I know that because since the year started, it's raining a lot in my city. And then I said, oh, it's raining, right? So I can't take a walk outside. But then I got accommodated in that, and I haven't taken walks outside since January. It's been 3 months. So it's a huge warning for me that now I need to pay attention. And when it's raining, I just need to find an alternative, right? But I said, oh, it's raining, so I'm just going to work more. That's my problem. Okay, another huge sign, huge warning is checking my phone all the time, especially stories. I don't have a problem with comparison on on Instagram, like, oh, I watch other people living their lives and I'm jealous and I compare myself and I feel like I'm not enough. No, 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 I don't have this problem. I just love seeing other people's lives. Like, I'm just curious. I love watching people's stories to see what they're doing, what they're eating, where they're going. I love it. Maybe it's just because I'm curious, but it's a sign that I prefer to watch other people living than living myself, right? So every time I am addicted to stories, or like checking my phone all the time, it's a clear sign that your brain needs a little detox, right? So I was doing that a few weeks, like in the past few weeks, I've been checking so many stories and I have specific people that I love watching their stories. But the problem is I would spend a lot of parts of my day like eating lunch and checking stories, eating breakfast and checking stories. And that's the problem. So every time I'm checking my phone too much, it's a sign that my brain is getting really agitated, right? And for me, a huge sign of stress is when my mind is too agitated and I can't rest. And that's my next warning. It's when I get too agitated with notifications. When I was going through the burnout, a huge trigger, like gatilho for me was cell phone notifications. Every time I got a notification, I had my heart jumped in my chest, my heart skipped a beat. pulava uma batida, errava uma batida. My heart skipped a beat every time I had a notification on my phone. And now I know that this is a warning. If I'm getting too agitated when I get a notification, like I get a notification and I have to look at my phone, I have to check what it is, it's a sign. Because normally when my mind is good and well rested, I am not so obsessed with notifications. So if I am, it's a bad sign, it's a red flag. And lately I was feeling that, like every time I got a notification I got anxious because I was afraid it was like a bad situation or like a pepino that I had to fix. But okay. And still on this agitation topic, I have to look for signs that my mind is agitated, right? So one of them is always thinking about the next thing I have to do. And like if you go on the internet and you look up dopamine, focus, routine, blah blah blah, you will hear uh, about being present in the moment, right? Like it's a classic theme today. You need to be present in the moment. But what does that mean? And once I was watching a video where someone gave an example that was so clear to me, and that's when I understood what was wrong. I wake up, I get ready for the gym, and I am already thinking about the exercises that I will do at the gym. When I am at the gym, I'm already thinking about the food that I'm gonna eat for breakfast. When I'm eating breakfast, I'm already thinking about my shower that I need to take, and then if I'm gonna read for 5 minutes, and after that, and then when I'm reading, that's supposed to be a relaxing moment, I'm already thinking, oh my God, what time is it? What time is it? Because in 5 minutes I have to do this. You know what I mean? When you do an activity, always thinking about the next one, something's wrong. That's being present in the moment. So the first podcast episode, my first ever episode on this podcast was about creating a digital space for your mind, right? I love that episode. I love that topic. Maybe I should talk about it again. Tell me if you would like that. But I need to have a space to write down everything that comes to my mind. I write down somewhere. My calendar is a mess because of that. Because every time I remember, oh my God, I have to talk to someone. Oh my God, I have to call Fulan. I have to check this thing. I have to buy this. Every time a thought pops up in my mind, I write down. Because if I don't, I will forget. And if I don't, that's the problem. If I don't write down, I will keep thinking about that. It will be something pending, like pendente in my mind. So I need to put it somewhere that I know that Nicole, the future Nicole, will check that and she will remember that. But Nicole right now needs to focus on the book that she's reading, right? So if I am in that state where I can't focus on my activity right now, I'm always thinking about my next one. That's a warning for me. Okay. When I am feeling a lot of irritation for no reason, this was a huge symptom for me on my burnout. And actually, this time, I wasn't irritated. And maybe that's why I didn't notice. For me, it's usually the biggest sign. And this time, I didn't notice. So I think that was the problem. But irritation in general, when someone talks to you and you're just thinking, shut up, shut up, shut up, don't talk to me. This feeling of someone talks to you and then you say, what? That feeling for me is a clear sign. But this time I didn't have it, so maybe that's why I didn't pay attention. Okay. A huge sign for me is shoulder pain. So maybe you can think about a physical symptom. Do you have a physical symptom that every time you feel that, you know you're stressed? Maybe a headache, for example. For me, it's shoulder tension, a tension that comes from my back and goes up to my shoulders and up to my neck, and then it becomes a headache. I had this pain during my burnout, and it was traumatic. It was traumatic because eventually this pain got to my throat and I couldn't speak anymore. So, yeah, I've talked about this on the episode about burnout. And my last sign, my last warning, I've mentioned this in the episode about music 3 episodes ago, I think. that a huge sign for me is when I'm not listening to music. If I'm not listening to music in my free time, if I'm only listening to music at the gym, it's because I'm stressed. It's because I don't wanna, I don't know, it's because I've explained that in that episode. If I'm not listening to songs, to fun and calming music, it's a sign that I'm stressed. Because then I only want to listen to podcasts. I only want to listen to videos on YouTube. That's a bad sign if I don't want to listen to music, because music makes me access my emotions. And if I'm not listening to music, it's because I don't want to access my emotions. I've explained that in that episode. So now I've stopped and thought about this, and now I have a list of things that I will force myself to do every day. Because you know what's my problem? I notice that I'm getting stressed, and then I fix and I change my routine, and then I think, oh, I'm good again. I'm fine again. And then I stop doing all the things that made me fine. It's like when you're taking medication, and then you say, oh, I don't need the medication anymore because I'm good now. But it was the medication working, you know? You shouldn't stop the medication because it's the medication that's making you well. It I do that with stress management. I do the things that I'm supposed to do so I don't stay stressed. And then when I'm finally well, I say, "Oh, I don't need those things anymore. I'm healed. I'm cured from my chronic stress." But now I know. I need to remind myself. I need to go back to this episode every time I forget this, because it doesn't matter how good I'm feeling, I will do these things. Hear me out. Number one, looking at the sky. I was watching a video these days, and a person said something that made so much sense to me, that people who work in computers, you have a tunnel vision. You know, your vision stays right here in this direction, in the same place. And you are kind of closing your sight. Sight é a visão, é a habilidade, o sentido da visão em inglês é sight, okay? So if you have a tunnel vision, it means that your sight is getting like more closed. You have to go outside and you have to look at the sky. You have to look at open places so that your sight can expand again, right? So this made so much sense to me, because when I spend the whole day looking at a computer, I feel my head pressing. You know, I feel a kind of pressure in my head. And then when I go outside and I look at the sky, I literally feel my sight opening. I can't explain. Try that. After working all day in a computer, try looking at the sky outside. You can actually feel your mind expanding. It's crazy. So I've decided that I have to look at the sky. I can't spend a day only looking at my office ceiling and my computer screen. No, 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 that's not healthy. Human beings were not created to live like that. Okay. Another one. Choose a shift that I will not work, like I said, right? So maybe 4 hours of my day. They don't need to be together, but I need to have total 4 hours of rest and just doing hobbies and just watching TV and just, I don't know, doing whatever I want. Okay, another like attached to this habit, I have to write down everything. I need to keep my mind clear, because okay, let's say I decide that the mornings are gonna be free. I won't work in the mornings. But I spend the whole morning thinking about everything I have to do in the afternoon. This is not relaxing. So I will choose some moments of my day, total 4 hours, where I will rest. But during this time, if something is in my mind, I will write down, take notes. So I only do this when I actually start working. Because if not, my mind will not be empty, like vazia, and then it won't be any solution, right? It won't do anything for me. Okay. Another thing that I have to force myself. I don't know if you relate to this. Não sei se você se identifica. I don't know if you relate to this, but I do things really fast. I speak really fast. I don't know if you've noticed this on this podcast. I do the dishes. I walk. I take a shower. I do everything super quickly. It's like I'm always in a hurry. Always in a hurry, you know? Sempre com pressa. And one thing that I need to force myself is to do things slowly, doing the dishes slowly, walking slowly, speaking slowly, I have to force myself to do those things because I feel like a crazy person when I'm doing everything so fast. It doesn't make sense. Nobody's in a hurry like that, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. Okay, another thing is a classic, doing things in silence. Doing the dishes and not listening to anything, not listening to music, to a video, nothing. Eating in silence, taking a shower in silence. I need to force myself to do one thing at a time. One thing that I used to be proud about, eu me orgulhava disso, that I can do many things at the same time. I have this ability, but does that mean that it's a good ability? No, it's a terrible ability to have, okay? It's not healthy. Nobody should be doing so many things at the same time. So one of the things that I'm gonna force myself is to do one thing at a time, okay? Another one is going outside for no reason. Going outside. I live in a closed. Deixa eu explicar isso em português. Gente, existe o termo condomínio em inglês, tá? Existe condo. Mas geralmente quando você vê condo, é pra falar de aqueles condomínios bem ricos, geralmente prédios, sabe? E aí uma vez eu pesquisei como falar condomínios e agora eu esqueci. Se você quiser pode pesquisar, você pode até me contar. Eu não vou pesquisar agora não. Mas é um termo que é meio, tipo assim, significa meio que uma moradia fechada, é uma coisa assim. Mas pelo que eu pesquisei, eu lembro de não ter achado um termo pra ser equivalente aos condomínios aqui no Brasil, sabe? Eu fico falando condo, mas eu não acho que seja os condos que um estadunidense iria falar. A gente não tá falando da mesma coisa, sabe? Whatever. But I live in a condo. And it's a safe place. There are many families, kids playing outside. And I don't go out. Like, I need to take advantage of this area, right? Like, come on, I live in a closed place. I could walk. I could go to the little park that we have outside. I could see the kids playing, like, and I'm not taking any advantage of that. I was telling my partner about this. Like, I feel like I'm not taking advantage of the fact that we live in a condo. So one thing that I'm gonna force myself to do is going outside for no reason, not walking, not taking walks, just going outside, going to the little park and coming back. Yesterday I took 10 minutes to walk around the condo, to go to the other streets of the condo, look at the kids play, and then I came back. Like, it was literally 10 minutes, but it made me feel good. And when I came back to work, my mind was way more relaxed and free. I wasn't feeling agitated, and I was much more productive because of that. Okay. And then I am living in a house now where I have a garage, I have a backyard, I have a front yard. And again, I wasn't taking advantage of these spaces. So one thing that I started doing this week that I'm gonna make it into a habit is eating outside, getting my sandwich, getting my snack, whatever I'm eating, going outside and eating there, eating in my backyard, eating in my front yard, looking at the sky. I feel like the sky is gonna be an anchor for me, and I've seen a difference already. Okay, let me tell you this. So if you have a backyard, if you have a front yard or a garage, if you can see the sky or a window, maybe try eating looking outside. It's life-changing. And in general, I always force myself to have slow habits. Reading books. Reading is such a slow habit, right? Like, you have to force yourself to focus and stop. I love reading because of that. Watching movies without pausing. So another general goal that I have is just doing slow activities. Cooking is a slow activity. It's activities that don't have an immediate result, reading, watching a movie, painting something, but I'm not a very artistic person, so I really want to find a hobby that is slow. One that I love is puzzles, like quebra-cabeças. I love puzzles so much, but I still need to have a space to do my puzzles in a table. I don't have a table where I can do that, but it's a big goal that I have. because I love puzzles. And puzzles don't have immediate result, immediate reward, like recompensa. Puzzles take a long time, right? So I want to force myself to do this type of slow activity that I don't have an immediate result, like watching a story, watching a TikTok is something that gives you immediate satisfaction. So I will still watch stories. I don't have a problem with social media. I don't think I'm addicted. I just want to include slow activities. This will necessarily reduce the dopamine activities, right? It's like a natural consequence. So this is my last tip for you. Don't try to cut off Instagram. I will uninstall TikTok and Instagram. Don't do that. Maybe include something else. Include another hobby. Include hobbit. Include another hobby. Include another activity, a slow activity. This activity will take time of your day. Then naturally you will reduce your social media time. Like social media is not the problem here. Our brains are the problem, okay? So, yeah, that's my episode for today. It's very long. I can see here that it's 30 minutes. So, I don't know if you like 30-minute episodes. I try to keep them 20 minutes long, but I'm going to stop here. And I hope this was useful because I wanted to share, because I feel like if I say it out loud, if I take notes, if I show that into the world, I am making it concrete, and I feel like it's easier to force myself to actually act on this. I hope I've helped you somehow. And let me know if you have strategies to manage stress and to slow down and pause during your day, because I would love that, because I really, really, really need it, okay? But yes, I hope you liked it. Tell me if you want more episodes about my personal life and my personal, things. And I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye.